In the vastness of space, amidst countless stars and galaxies, there lies a small blue planet, Earth. But travel back 1 billion years and this familiar world becomes almost unrecognizable. It was a time before animals, before forests, before even the simplest creatures we know today. The planet was still shaping itself, restless and wild, filled with fire and ocean and mystery. 1 billion years ago, Earth was already ancient, more than 4 billion years old. Yet its surface was still raw and unsettled. Continents were fewer, joined together into a massive supercontinent known as Rodinia. It stretched across the equator, surrounded by endless dark seas. The land was barren, lifeless, shaped by the slow grinding of tectonic plates and the constant roar of volcanoes. Volcanoes poured molten lava across the surface, filling the air with ash and gas. The atmosphere was heavy with carbon dioxide, tinted orange by sunlight filtering through the haze. Oxygen was scarce, barely a fraction of what fills our lungs today. The seas were murky and green, rich with dissolved minerals and microscopic life that floated near the surface, transforming sunlight into energy. This was the Proterozoic Eon, an age of transformation. Long before this, simple microorganisms had begun to change the world. Tiny blue-green cells called Cyanobacteria had discovered photosynthesis, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. Over millions of years, their invisible work began to alter the chemistry of the oceans and the air. Slowly, the planet began to breathe. By 1 billion years ago, the effects of this oxygen revolution were becoming visible. Iron that once colored the seas red began to rust and settle on the ocean floor. The skies gradually cleared. Blue replaced the dim orange hue, though the air remained thin and strange. In shallow coastal waters, colonies of microbes built domed structures called stromatolites, living mounds that grew layer by layer, forming reefs long before coral existed. These simple communities were the architects of the first ecosystems, shaping coastlines and balancing the atmosphere of a young world. Yet beneath the surface, something even more profound was happening. Somewhere in the depths of those ancient oceans, a single-celled organism swallowed another, not as food, but as a companion. The two cells began to live together, one inside the other, sharing energy and survival. From this quiet alliance, the first eukaryotic cell was born, a complex form of life with specialized structures inside. These were the ancestors of every plant, animal, and human that would ever exist. Inside these new cells, tiny powerhouses, mitochondria, generated energy far more efficiently than before. Life could now grow larger, more diverse, and more ambitious. Evolution had taken a bold step forward, though the world above still seemed silent and empty. Meanwhile, on the continents of Rodinia, mountains rose and crumbled. Rivers carved valleys through the bare stone. Deserts of red dust stretched across the heart of the supercontinent, while shallow seas along its edges nurtured mats of green microbes. The great landmass moved slowly, inch by inch, as the planet's interior shifted. Where continents collided, new mountains formed. Where they tore apart, oceans began to open. For millions of years, the climate remained stable, but stability can be fragile. Volcanic activity lessened, drawing down the amount of carbon dioxide in the air. The sun, still fainter than today, provided less warmth. Gradually, Earth began to cool. Snow appeared near the poles, then advanced farther and farther. Ice crept across the land, reflecting sunlight back into space, cooling the planet even more. It was the beginning of a chain reaction that would one day cover Earth in ice, the great Snowball Earth event. Even in this slow chill, life endured. Deep beneath the ice, around hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, heat and minerals nourished microbial colonies. In tiny cracks within the frozen crust, liquid water persisted. Life found ways to survive where no sunlight reached. It adapted, persisted, and waited. Between 1 billion and 800 million years ago, life began experimenting with cooperation. Simple multicellular organisms appeared, colonies of cells living and dividing together. They had no organs or skeletons, but they represented a new step in complexity. Some grew like thin sheets, others as small floating spheres. These fragile pioneers laid the groundwork for everything that would come later. As time passed, Rodinia began to break apart. Rifts tore open its surface, flooding with seawater, creating new coastlines and shallow marine habitats. The breakup released carbon dioxide from volcanic activity, warming the planet again and enriching the oceans with minerals. These fertile new environments encouraged evolution to speed up. With the continents drifting apart, the oceans circulated more freely, distributing heat and nutrients across the globe. Oxygen levels continued to rise, reaching closer to modern values. The atmosphere stabilized. The planet, once hostile and bare, was becoming more balanced, ready for the next great leap. Eventually, around 540 million years ago, life would erupt into extraordinary diversity during the Cambrian explosion, filling the seas with strange and complex creatures. But none of that would have been possible without the quiet billion years that came before, the long preparation when Earth learned to support complex life. Every breath we take today, every tree that grows, every creature that moves, all trace their lineage back to this forgotten era. The continents beneath our feet, the air that fills our lungs, even the cells within our bodies are shaped by the chemistry and struggles of that distant world. It was during this ancient time that Earth transformed from a planet of fire and stone into a living world. The oxygen we breathe was forged by unseen microbes. The stability of our climate was tested by fire and ice. The foundations of evolution were built in silence beneath alien skies. 1 billion years ago, Earth was learning to breathe, to adapt, and to nurture life. And though that time has long passed, its legacy remains within every living thing today. The whisper of that ancient world still echoes in the winds, the waves, and within us. The children of a planet that once found its breath and never stopped breathing again.